Welcome to the Grow Pair podcast. This is the second take because we just spent 15 minutes talking with, and then the recording disappeared. But today on the show, I've got Fourie and
welcome again.
Okay, so.
Well, maybe the first 15 minutes has broke the ice.
Maybe it broke the ice, yeah, I think so. I mean, okay, well, we can do a quick recap then on what nobody has watched. That's great. But, okay, cool. So, we met a long time ago.
Well, as you reminded me, 16 years ago. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
That's crazy, though.
And in the events world.
In the events world, yes. Okay, so let's dive into that. So, we were now just talking about Santé and the events management. That's where you started.
Yeah.
And then we'll get back into what you're doing now because we can work our way up from the past into right now. Bloody hell. That's the first time that has ever happened. But yeah, like I said,
maybe something was said it wasn't supposed to be heard.
Maybe, hey. Yeah, no, we don't fight those kinds of powers here. We're like, okay, something was said wrong for sure. Okay, so event management. You were just talking about how you enjoyed creating these events, spaces and these memorable, beautiful. And sometimes crazy kind of things because the brides, you get these bridezillas and you get the husbandzillas and the mother-in-law zillas and
exactly. So
all the crazies.
It's quite a kind of a wrangle with all these different aspects, and you've got the suppliers and people have to arrive on time, and you've got the X factor of anything that can go wrong on the day. So you have to be like present and in the moment for who knows what.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I remember weddings in the middle of February, and then suddenly in the morning it starts raining and it's outside and there's no tent and you've got to carry everything out, and then the rain stops and everyone wants to be outside again.
Yeah.
Or large events. I remember we did at the castle, for example, like that come in and they put massive marquee tents up, and like the moment the wind comes up and people are walking into the tent, somebody hits the tent pen straight through a water pipe and there's like a fountain. And so, I mean, you never can kind of predict these things. But I think when I said stress earlier, it's kind of that living on the anxiety of the moment, because like you've got to be ready for whatever's going to be thrown at you, like and deal with it in the moment. There's no time to contemplate or think about it because the client is there and it's happening. So it's like live theater.
Yes. But that is the thing. So like, I mean, I come out of live sound, right? So like I always did bands and that kind of stuff, and then got into, like, I used to DJ way back in the day, came back to it in Cape Town, was doing bands. Then we met, started doing events, which were corporate, and then started DJing again. And that was all out Santé side.
Yeah.
But it's in the moment. It's right now. Something
goes
wrong
your
now,
audience
it's
the whole
gone.
Time as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's not like a production like this where we've had to restart and it's okay.
But you can't go back.
But you can't go back and fix it.
Yeah.
Because if it's done, it's done. It's I don't know. I mean, I lost all my hair. In fact, when I started working, I had hair.
You did.
I was looking at some photos the other day and I was like, hey man, I remember when I had hair.
And that's why I just keep it very short at the moment, because I know that the grey is there as well.
You don't age. That's the problem. No, you don't, Brie. I've seen the photos.
Good red wine.
Red wine, yeah. Just cures you.
Yeah. So I mean, it was interesting. Like, and I always sometimes think like what made me enjoy that career so much. Because, I mean, and I was thinking driving here on the way, like. The whole entrepreneurial thing, and I remember like being at school, it was more a thing of like, I'm going to go study and I'm going to have a job and that's going to be my life.
Yeah. And that's 85% of people.
And I was going to have a very good job. I mean, I went to go and study mathematics. I was going to be an actuary, but in my first year, I was like, no, I can't be that boring little person with 1.5 children and a car and I was like, I couldn't compute that. So I think naturally there was something explorative in the way that I, kind of approached life. Yeah. So in events was good.
What goes into? I mean, I know, but I'll ask the question because I want to. I mean, the whole premise behind the podcast, at least, is the tough things and sometimes the road getting to success. Mm-hmm. If I were to try and sum it up in a not so eloquent, sentence, but the road into, say, like events management, and then the hardships that it takes to run it and be it and do it successfully, at least. What are those? Like, how did you get into the whole event management side of things?
Well, I was quite young when I started, like mid-20s, and I think at that point in time, it's also sometimes just necessity. Like I had a good friend who was in it, and I started working with him, and I realized very quickly, well, I can do this. And I think I was always slightly OCD and kind of like
Slightly.
have my little file with my little tick boxes and and I don't know, but plus this added angle of wanting to, I don't know, create something. Because later in the year, a couple of years ago, I did a degree in psych, and I think there's always been also the relation with people in a way, and kind of not giving, but creating something for people. So that it kind of blended very nicely. But you're young and you're busy and you do it, and you kind of have to do it because you need money.
And you've got the energy.
Yeah, especially for events at that time. And then it kind of grows. I think if you're good at something, you start seeing the gaps, and you kind of think, oh, okay, if I can do this, then I can do that. And then it kind of organically expands. So from running the events came the extra things of like booking the artists, getting you guys in, kind of running the entire production at the end. And I think also one just has to go out there and always kind of like challenge yourself, and not become complacent, like, okay, this is my job, this is what I do. And unless it's a very personal thing, how people are different. But I mean, I kind of like to see, okay, well, let's push the boundary and let's see how we can make it more.
Yes.
So events, I mean, I ended up basically doing 65 weddings a year. And
that sounds about right, actually.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like, and I wasn't burnout, but there came a point where I had enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's all the underlying anxiety. I think we said before, it's because you're running this live theater show, and anything can go wrong at any minute, and you have to be ready for it. But
so how do you keep your head in those moments? So I've seen you probably under the most pressure you've ever been under. We did a few events that were knife edge to being complete disasters. Yep. And then other events that were just beautiful and just everything worked and nothing went wrong. And it's like, but how do you get that?
It's difficult
because
to
people
say.
fall apart.
Yeah.
People go, the bride's late, or the this, or the mother ordered a horse and cart carriage, and the bride is actually petrified of horses, and now everything's falling apart. How do you keep your head in that?
Honestly, I can't tell you. Like, I mean, it's like a weird calmness just kind of comes over me, and I want to sort it out. And I think maybe that's where the psych part of it kind of comes in, because I won't say I'm a people's pleaser, but I like to make these memorable events for people, and sometimes I had to make my voice thick to kind of, in a way, get to the point where I know it will work.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are other suppliers and people that have worked with me in the past who, I don't know, can remember me not being very pleasant.
I don't know. I mean, look, I enjoyed and loved working. I mean, I followed you to like 2 or 3 different venues. Yeah. I mean, we were at Sante, then it was Eitzig, and there were a couple of other places in between where we did loads of work. And I mean, that's 65 weddings a year. And then on top of that was all of the corporate conferences from Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
And there were, I mean, we did that big SANDF thing where we got robbed. Well, I got robbed. Yeah. And other sort of huge events during the week. So you're doing 65 weddings plus maybe another 70 to 100 days a year of other events. Yeah. I mean, it's not an easy...
And
not an easy thing.
In psychology, they talk about how the work you do kind of starts to form your brain. Like your brain adapts to the work you do. So I sometimes think back about how, obviously I was young in my 30s, how the brain started thinking in a certain way, and neural pathways are born, and that's the way kind of your brain starts ticking and working. So I think it laid a very, very, very good foundation for where I am today.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, the point came where it was like, no, thank you. And I had and I really didn't know where to. I had a friend who was in recruitment, and I said, just get me a day job, please. I'm old enough to have a day job.
I want an 8 to 5.
Exactly.
With a 20-minute commute.
And oddly, she got me a job within a co-working brand.
Okay.
Yep. And that's where I started.
Gee, so here's part of the story I don't know then.
Oh, yeah.
So,
no, totally.
Yeah.
So overnight, I was done with events, and I had to dress up in a little suit and tie and be in the office at like 8 o'clock on a Monday morning and run a co-working space.
Well, you did disappear. Like, let me just like throwing my brain back.
Yeah.
You did disappear quite quickly because it was all Sante, and then Sante changed very quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were bought or what the story was there.
Yeah, I think management changed a lot.
Yeah, management changed. I mean, I was doing average 4 days a week there, and you then moved to Eitzig.
Yeah.
And it was 3 months after that, I went from 4 days a week to 1 day a month. And it was like that. Nothing wrong, nothing anything.
And
I spoke to the guys that
were
were like...
about 2012, 2014, around there. I think it changed a lot as well. I think the big budgets people used to have, especially for conferences and things like that, that changed dramatically. I think 2000s, people spend millions on parties and year-end functions and things like that. But I think people started realizing that maybe they shouldn't be blowing money
ROI
like that.
Might not be there.
Exactly. Well, the brides kept on spending money.
Oh yes, so that's never going to end. That's never going to end.
So not the corporates.
Well,
so,
that was the end of I say the end of my business. So
Sure,
Base
really?
Productions after
like 2012, 14, around there.
Yeah, I think a little bit after that, because you had already, I think, stopped doing the Eitzig stuff because I think Rian played the very last event that was in that front venue, the one that was on the road, because the neighbors used to moan. Constantia Eitzig. So I think he played. I think I booked him in there for the last wedding that was done there. Then we had kind of shifted back to that manor house in the back of the property, and we did a bunch of weddings and events and functions there, and we did some corporates by the restaurant. It was that Ladi.
That was Eitzig and La Colombe.
La Colombe.
That's
it. Yeah, some
very
good food from those guys.
Yes, and they're still going well.
I know.
Like they are like still number one in the world.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Like I was chatting with friends of mine. They were like, "Oh, Des, have you seen the updated top 5 in South Africa?" And I'm like, I've eaten at 4 of them.
Exactly. Well done.
I mean, it was behind a screen, but I ate there.
A couple of times, actually.
And after all of that, like we did a bunch of like international guys at Sante, and they had there was 1 or 2 guys that came out and then came out again like a year later to do the events. And I had sort of lined up with these like 5 or 6 international companies, and I was busy organizing. So we were doing like all kinds of visas because they wanted us to go to the States and to Europe.
Wow.
Yeah. So they were trying to get us to hire our team out to run their events.
For sound, amazing. Okay, I didn't know about that. Wow.
And so because we had done like 2 events for each of these companies at Sante or at other venues. And then, like you said, everything there was a shift in the market all of a sudden. And 4 of the 5 cancelled every single one of their events, like worldwide cancelled them.
Sure. Okay.
And like I had been focusing on that because they were doing so much work with us at that stage. And I was all over Cape Town with these guys, and we were planning Joburg and then planning overseas. And so a lot of my other work sort of fell away at the time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, 4 of them just phoned me up. They were like, "Sorry, mate." Next day, another guy, "Sorry, dude, we cancelled." What? Like all of a sudden, bang, bang, bang. Whole thing was gone, and I went and got a real job after that.
And then life throws you these curveballs, and you just have to sink or swim and continue.
The pivot is hard.
So I'm glad I made that choice at that point in time, because if you fast forward a little bit from there to 2020, I mean, I was so grateful that I was not in events anymore.
Right.
I mean,
right.
like blessed.
You know
like,
how many
imagine?
companies went bust? I know tons of sound guys, and it was a bloodbath.
Yeah, everything changed then.
Yeah.
I think even weddings. So maybe this is recovering slowly now, but conferencing. I mean, everything is online now.
Yeah. Yeah,
and massive conferences are.
It hasn't
on Zoom.
It hasn't come back. It's partially come back. So I've seen like a few like events are happening, but you look at even like bands coming to South Africa. It's not the same. It's not the same frequency.
No.
The events are not the same frequency. Places like a CTICC, I mean, they'll always be busy because they're huge.
Yeah.
But I think your smaller conference venues and whatever else are going, well, the 15-person event, we'll do it on Zoom rather. It's cheaper.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to it, but I mean, I think COVID just changed totally the way we think and operate and relate to people and business.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, companies have downscaled. They're a lot more aware of their budgets and where they spend money. And why have a massive conference when you can have it online with a couple of people and not even actually have traditional office space anymore.
Sure.
I mean, you can work from home for a couple of days of the week
or a workspace.
Exactly.
Like a co-workspace. It was a nice little segue.
I'm getting there.
It's like you did it on purpose.
So I'm into marketing as well.
Well, you're a shareholder in the business now. You're into everything. Always found like I've been entrepreneurial, and people will go, "Yo, I want to own my own business." I'm like, why? Like it's hard work. And they're like, yeah, but you get to set your own time. No, you don't.
No.
You get to pay yourself what you want. No, you don't. You get, you can tell people what to do. I'm good at managing people. And we're like, that's great. But when that toilet is blocked, guess who's doing it?
Yep.
In the beginning, you are. Because
Totally.
you're the person. You roll your sleeves
And
up.
I believe one should continue doing it. Like, even if you become successful, stay grounded and part of the foundation of the business.
Yeah. Well, that humility,
Totally.
people can see through the BS.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I've been involved in companies where I've had 26 staff or 17 staff that have worked for me, and the second that you talk a bit of nonsense, they can see it. When they're like, hey, it's coming to Christmas, and now the big boss is going, well, there's no money for bonuses this year, but they just bought themselves a 1.2 million rand car.
Exactly.
Or their 3 million rand sports car just went in for a service, kind of thing. And you think, you want to halve my salary because why? Sell your car or whatever. But like people, or they just don't want to do the messy stuff. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah, then I don't know if they're real entrepreneurs.
Fair.
Actually.
Look, yeah. So I think, there's a big distinction, and I've learned it through the years, a big distinction between a businessman or a businesswoman and an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You get very successful business people, lots of them. And there's lots of entrepreneurs that become business people because their business grows to that point where they're no longer got the hustle on the grind. It's now just growing the business, and you get those more intrapreneurs, which is your people that work for a company that have the ideas and go the extra mile. I've seen a lot of it. Like I've never gotten ever to that point, and I don't think it's necessarily bad to be a businessman or a businesswoman.
No, and it's a very interesting, because I feel I'm dealing with that quite a lot now as we've obviously grown, and and I was like down in the dungeons with the people and building it up, and then you become so wrapped up in the day-to-day running of the business, but at the same time you have to create the space where you are actually working on the business, and you have to remove yourself and kind of look down on it. So it's a very interesting dichotomy. Like in your brain, you're part of it, but you also have to kind of look down on it and see it as separate from you. Which is a very, very, very interesting learning curve for me.
Oh yeah. Let's dive into that.
Okay.
I'm keen to see how did you experience that? But so this is Venture Workspace that we're talking about right now, which is your co-working.
So let me tell you how it happened. Actually,
yes.
I mean,
let's hear
I was
the story.
thinking this is so I was working for this company, then in this co-working brand, And
what was your position? What were you doing?
I was running a center.
Okay, cool.
Running managing a center. And one day this gentleman came in, and I don't know, we just like clicked like from the start, and we started talking about offices, and I was learning a lot. I'm coming from events suddenly into office spaces and square meterage and GLA and totally different.
What is
world.
GLA?
Gross lettable area.
Okay, here we go. Hey, I'm learning things.
And lease documents and this like all these little things hidden away in clauses that you have to pay attention to. And we just dealt, and he was looking for an office and there wasn't anything available. And I turned around and I said to him, let's do it ourselves. Why I said it, I have no clue. The words just came out. And he said, okay. Send me a presentation.
The scariest
like,
2 letters you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. And he comes from the building industry, and he had some other partners and other businesses, and I met them probably a week later with a full-on presentation of this is what I think we could do, and this is how we can present it, and the ball started rolling, and it was just incredible. Literally one day, arbitrarily saying something, it just took a whole different path. Like you said before, like your dad saying, let's go to the...
Yeah. That's the part that we didn't record.
Yeah. Might have to add a little clip at the end. And it wasn't like overnight either. I mean, we had a very specific idea of how we wanted to kind of create the company and where we want to create these spaces.
So what was that idea?
Well, we didn't want to do it in the city. We thought that there was more than enough co-working spaces in the city. Basically, the motto at that point was, let's take workspace to the people. So create these spaces in the suburbs. Relieving traffic, you're close to home, go work, go gym, have a better life. And then the search started for a nice building that kind of ticks the boxes. And that took about 6 months to find a building that works. But now you're sitting with a massive building, 1,000 square meters. You've got to sign a lease for 5 years. And every month...
Those deposits are
deadly.
Yeah. Like,
and surety and this and that.
Yeah,
and
insurances.
Plus electricity, plus water, plus rates. And you have to fit it out because, you are providing a fully serviced option. So there's got to be a kitchen, there's got to be full-on internet, Wi-Fi, APs throughout the space. You have to have furniture, you have to have boardrooms. Projection screens, TVs, HDMI cables, the whole thing. It's got to look pretty.
Yeah.
You need to have staff. You need to basically spend a massive amount of capital.
And you haven't got a single client.
Anxiety. And we did it. And it was a very small now in retrospect, small. It was under a bar that I was given to say, here, let's do it. Let's set it up. Let's go.
No, that's tiny. What, on 1,000 squares?
Yep.
R1 million on 1,000. That's 1,000 rand a square meter.
750K, to be honest.
So 750 rand a square meter.
Shall we saying this?
No,
but okay. But that was the investment capital.
You took nothing actually, and built something out of it. Yeah. Because if someone were to sit with me and say, "Hey, Des, we want to open up a co-working space," and blah 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 blah, my thumbsuck guess would be 2,500 rand a square to set it up properly. Like that would be. How close that is.
Yeah, if not more, it depends.
If not more, depending on how classy you want to go. Exactly. Yeah. But to do that on, say, between 750 and 1,000 rand, no man, that's
I tell
impressive.
you, and that's where when you say you down there with them. I painted walls, clean toilets, make sure everything is neat and tidy and ready, and you can just have to be jack of all trades. You Mr. Marketer, you social media, you sales, you reception. You go buy the toilet paper. You look for deals online for who sells coffee cheap.
Yes,
and just to have the services, and then you also have to, people are coming in, and you kind of have to be personable, and and educate people as well. I think this is obviously 8-9 years ago. Now it's a concept that people understand, but then like, why would I want to pay obviously technically more rent for a space that's fully kitted out? And you have to say, well, actually you save money because everything is ready. There's now all these extra expenses that you have to worry about.
Yeah.
It was 2016. Yeah, August. And in 6 months we were full.
Good.
6 months we were full. So I think location was brilliant because we were in Claremont.
Yeah, timing was good.
Yeah, at Brookside at the Villages Rugby Club. You've got Harfield Village.
Are you at Villages Rugby?
Yeah. That was the first one. That's like what I call the mothership.
Yes, and that's still
still going full.
Jeez, I was at Villages like a while back.
Really? No, come pop in next time you're there.
I will.
It's awesome.
Because I've got a friend of mine that helps the ground staff with all their grass and whatnot. So like I've been. Oh, I must have seen your bloody building and just not noticed. Yeah. Or like,
we're right there.
There's Des with his eyes open, obviously. But it's a nice area. It's a nice space.
Yes, and we've got the rugby fields in there, and it was nice to bring that in, and people can go outside and have their lunch there.
Yeah, there's a gym in that whole setup.
At the backside,
at
yes.
the back,
well.
okay, yeah.
So, it was it just happened. It was running. Yeah. And it just kind of, like my one shareholder always said, it's like, you've got this Boeing that you have to get off the ground. And then once it's got that momentum, it goes. So that was a big success. And we kind of then sort of expanding maybe and getting a second branch. And this particular shareholder then noticed that there was building happening there in Constantia where the new Emporium is.
Yes.
Just down from Constantia Village. And we started negotiating with that, and that was amazing because it was obviously they were building a shopping center from scratch and foundations, and we were there even before they dug ground. We had like building plans. It was so exciting, like, oh my god, we can decide how this must look and all that. So that was an amazing process, like really like, wow, this is cool. And then we opened the doors in February 2020.
We're open, but nobody can come.
Exactly. And a month later, it was, okay, we're not open anymore.
Yeah, jeez.
That was, that was hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think relating to your theme and the name of your podcast, I think that's where I really had to grow a pair. It was like...
But it
was anxious.
I mean, like we were talking about stress and whatnot, and like you say, those neural pathways almost grow. Is that saying the hardest thing someone's done is the hardest thing that they've done, and that could be like, well, for you, loads of pressure under massive multi-million rand events and whatever else, into now a business where you can handle. Okay, we're opening, but sorry, no one can come into your building.
Yeah,
that's pressure. And people crumble under that. People crumble under not being able to find the right shoes at the shop because that's the hardest thing they've done. Like
nice, interesting angle.
It's I've met people that I'm like, no, you're soft, and they're like, what do you mean? I've had a tough life. I'm like, no, you haven't. You're a trust fund baby, and you've had everything. You've been wearing bloody Adidas and Puma and all these fancy things since you were 2. Like I got my first name brand pair of shoes when I was 23.
So it's amazing how life kind of prepares you in a way for what's to come or what comes across your way. That's very philosophical now. So
I can be smart.
But and I think also, I mean, I don't know if it's a personality trait that some people or entrepreneurs, but it's also a thing of you just have to keep on fighting because who else is going to do it for you? And I think also early when we spoke about businessmen and entrepreneurs, I think once you have managed to work for yourself, I never want to work for somebody else again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like it's just, you, as hard as you work, there is a freedom of expression and taking responsibility for something that's yours. Yeah, that is just.
Well, there's a lot of reward or potential. I would say there's a lot of potential reward in terms of like if you build it in a certain way and get the right people around you, you can have a lot of freedom and you can have a lot of space to be creative or live out what it is that you want to live out. You know, like for myself, I enjoy networking and connecting people and all this kind of stuff. And what's great, the podcast has finally allowed me to get back to that. You know, like,
it's great. You're going to meet amazing people.
Yeah,
and even these people connecting with each other.
Exactly that. Yeah. So like I've been in the last week, my previous guest, episode 18, right, was Jono. We spoke about him earlier, Disciples Inc. And he's introduced me to 3 people that are coming on the podcast.
Brilliant.
You know, and it's like 3 people I never would have run into. You know, but now, cool. I've got, you know, this lady coming on who's this high court lawyer. I've got another guy that runs a massive franchise. And, you know, like, it's like, okay, cool. I never would have gotten there. And I don't know that there's connection. There's things that could be one of these people that come in here can be that person that walked into your job that went, hey, let's start a business. And now,
exactly,
or whatever.
You should have like a little get together for all the guys or people that you've interviewed already. Like,
I was thinking how to do it.
Networking event.
I was saying to my wife the other day, I was like, my birthday is coming up in August, and I was like, who do I invite? Because like I've got my like 4 or 5 sort of really close mates, and then but like 2 of them live overseas, and like I've got, you know, birthday dinner or whatever else, and then I was like, yo, should I invite so-and-so? And she's like, do you think you could? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I could.
Why not?
Why not? You know, would it be weird? You know, inviting these, like now you're number 20. So like, you know, inviting 20 people that I've had on the podcast. And sure, like 7 or 8 of them are people like you that I know, you know, and we've got a past and a history, and, you know, we actually do enjoy each other's company. But yeah, but it's the networking side of this whole thing it's been crazy. And I've already hooked business up for other people and gotten business in.
But don't you also find how you have grown, like from having the first
so much
one up till today, and the things you discover in yourself. And
so I was chatting with a lady. So her episode's the next one that's going to come out, and she's a neuro-emotional coach. And so she was like, Des, do a session with me, just so you can see what it's like before you actually have the chat. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was working, and we had an emergency. So we had an emergency. I had to drive out to past Cirrus, and now I had this conversation I had to have. So I was like, timing was bad. I had to like be on WhatsApp and, you know, like a WhatsApp call and all that kind of stuff. So I tore through to Cirrus, skidded into a parking lot of a coffee shop, grabbed a coffee, and then ended up on this phone call. And if you've ever driven to Cirrus, like the last like 30 Ks from here to Cirrus, there's no reception. So I was stressing. Anyway, got there, did the chat. And after we chatted with her, she said, well, this podcasting, from what I've seen, is like you're looking or have looked for mentors and people to look up to. So like my belief on it is if you surround yourself with people that are better than you, you will become better. It works the other way as well, where if you surround yourself with drug addicts, for instance, right, good chance you'll become one, you know. But if you've got, say, 10 people around you that are business people, have grown something, have built this thing, are networking, are doing that, you learn and you graft and you glean off of them, you know. Totally. And she said to me that that's potentially what I've just created here, is this crazy multi-part business mentor and even personal mentor, where I get to pick your brain for an hour and a bit or whatever it is, and then pick somebody else's brain and learn.
And what a powerful network. I mean, even just, I think in between, like we can all learn things from each other all the time. So it's but if you kind of elevate yourself to that realm where you with like-minded people that you admire and want to emulate, and who inspires you. Yeah, brilliant. No, well done, man.
Thank you.
Please invite me to the birthday party.
I will. I want to have steak. That's my plan.
Good. I'm there.
But yeah, it's I think, I mean, like you say, you go through business and you're learning all of these different bits and bobs and having to do all of these things. What was the point for you where you then say, like, drew that line and said, okay, cool, I'm no longer washing the toilets. I'm still happy to do it, but I need to elevate myself, otherwise I can't grow this thing. I mean, there's a line somewhere where that happens.
So obviously when we had just the one branch, I mean, you're part of it.
Yes.
And then we opened Constantia, and you kind of slightly have to like pull away from the one and focus attention on the next one. And then the third one opened, and again, and each time it kind of became a little bit easier, but you learn to say goodbye. Well, not say goodbye, but step away.
Yeah.
It's like renovating a house, and it's perfect, and then you have to say goodbye. Like, I'm not going to live here, I'm going to sell it on, whatever. Like, you put so much energy in there, but it's now fine, it's got to go. So that was the process, and obviously also as the staff contingent grow, and I think also, again, we touched on that kind of business attitude. My thing from the beginning was I don't like hierarchy. Like, you're the boss, and you're the receptionist, and you're the cleaner. Yeah. No. We all take responsibility for the business.
The words that I've never used, and I always, when I say it, I always sound like I'm trying to, blow my own trumpet here. But I've never used the words, I'm the boss and you will listen. Yeah. Like I can't, because I hate it when it happens to me, which is in many jobs. You working or whatever else, and you're like, hold on, can I ask you why? And because I say so.
And my way is the only way.
Exactly. And it's just like straight away there, as an employee, you go, get stuffed. Sorry, I'm not interested. Everything that guy says or that girl says after that is peppered with this. You're a terrible person, or you're a chop kind of thing. Yeah.
But that's why I think finding the right staff is just so it's paramount. Obviously industry specific. I mean, I love my staff or people coming from the hospitality background.
Or you speak their language.
Exactly. And I know how hard they've worked.
Yes.
In hotels or restaurants or wherever, late nights. Most importantly, being able to deal with people and customers. And I don't know, there's just like a work ethic. Well, but now it sounds like I'm deriding other industries, but
not at all.
But I gel with those kind of people, and there's that thing of thinking on your feet and sorting out a problem immediately, and that's the service that we give at the end of the day. I mean, there's competition. There are many other co-working spaces. What's going to set me aside? Yeah, it's how I deal with customer issues and how people experience the space at the end of the day. So, so having very good people in place have allowed me to step away, but as you know, I'm OCD, so like sometimes still like wake up at 2 a.m. I think, was that done? But yeah, I think that has been the most interesting learning curve for me as a human on this planet in the last like 10 years. It's really like, I don't know, stepping back and growing and allowing other people to grow and kind of fostering in a way the entrepreneurial spirit in my staff as well. Because normally for the center managers, I say, this is your baby, this is your hotel, run it, go with it. I mean, you're responsible, you're the face of it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And
it's like make it your own.
Totally. Yeah. It's the only way. Yeah. It's the only way. I don't want people to come to work because they have to. They must want to. Yeah. And I'm very blessed.
How do you let go then? Because I mean, like we were discussing earlier a couple of previous jobs, on both of our sides actually, where you don't get given that space to or you get pulled in to do a job and then you get kind of handcuffed with your right hand to your left leg behind your back kind of thing. You got to hop around effectively, like how do you let go as someone in charge, someone that does have that little bit of OCD, want everything to be perfect?
Yeah, I think this is where the learning has come now, is just kind of like start working on the business. Like, how am I going to present this business to the world? Like, and really polishing kind of the company ethics and the company ethos and, our motto and what we stand for and who we are, instead of worrying about, is there toilet paper today? So that has been amazing. And that really has been a blessing that I've have this opportunity to create this something and for myself, but also for, I was listening to one of your other podcasts where you spoke about, you don't actually know the effect that you have on the people that you touch every day, not just the people that maybe the tenants or the members in our space that works from your space, but your staff and your staff's children, or it just ripples. It's quite amazing.
Yeah.
But then back to your question, I think, and then I get, then everything runs amazing. But I think the events thing of always wanting to kind of just be stimulated,
yes,
runs there. So then we just opened a new branch, and then all the anxiety starts from fresh.
So you start sleeping through the nights, and then it's like, okay, time to expand.
I'm gonna do something now. Yeah.
I get that itch. That's I mean, I've been working for other people for a long time now. Like I mean, when I closed Base Productions and then went into a company and then tried to revive my company again, which didn't. I kind of, you remember those, like that 7 days a week, like 16, 17, 18 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's
it didn't work. And then I went into catering, thinking, because my mom ran a catering company years before that, so it's still events, like I've always enjoyed the speed and the whatever, and cheapers, and I went straight back into this 7 day a week thing. Did that for almost 2 years, and then for the last, I'd say 6.5, 7 years, I've been working for other people again. But it's the itch is always there.
You must scratch it.
Got to scratch it. Yeah, I mean the side hustle is, the side hustles are all there. It's, and I've got my little thing on the side that I do with social media and all of that kind of stuff. I think that maybe scratches the itch a little bit. But
it's like you never know. Like
you don't. Yeah.
Like somebody might listen in the next minute. I don't know, like they want to have you like on a podcast in New York or something. You know what I mean? Like,
it'd be great. I need peanut butter M&Ms, and I can't get them here in South Africa.
I'll look out for that.
I've got friends of mine that fly overseas, so you
have to bring it back.
You get the peanut ones, which is they're not the same. Peanut
butter.
Yeah.
Oh, so like soft inside.
Yeah, soft is actual peanut butter inside, and you can get them at the casino. But they like 37 rand for like this tiny little bag. And I had friends of mine. I've had 2 friends of mine that have brought back for me. And then I met some people when I was working in KZN that live in the States.
Okay.
And,
did you only get them in the States? Did you get them in Europe as well?
I think you might get them in Europe.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, cool. You go to Europe all the time.
Well, my brother lives. I'll ask him to look out.
And so when they went home, so they had come out for like 2 or 3 weeks, and we had met, and where I was working, they were now experiencing Africa, and where they went back, and then they phoned me. They had my WhatsApp number, and the guy phoned me and said, Des, what's your address? I'm like, well, why do you need my address? No, I'm just sending a package to you. And I was like, what are you sending me? He goes, don't worry, you're gonna enjoy it. And he sent me 2, him and his wife, boxes this size. Like, I think it was 2.5 kilos per box, I think.
Amazing.
1.8 kilos or something.
Ration yourself.
I did.
One a day.
Yeah, it was like my 5 M&Ms for the night. and they eventually came. It took like 4 months to get here from America because of the post office.
I need them now.
And since then, like I haven't seen them anywhere. Goodness.
Well, we're putting it out there.
Yeah, we're putting it.
Peanut butter M&Ms. We need to get him.
Hard to get on Des's good side. Sweets, always. How many branches do you have now?
So, in last week, we signed a lease for number 5.
For number 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know. Be a big one.
Okay, well, so where are the branches? Your first one was?
Claremont.
Constantia.
Somerset West.
Sanctuary.
Yeah.
There's that building there. Yeah. Okay.
Fourways.
All right.
In the Cedar Square Shopping Centre.
Right.
It's very opposite from Fourways Mall.
Mm-hmm.
And and then again, and I saw the other day, we've actually been in negotiating since 2020, 4 years, the new Riverlands development in Observatory where Amazon is going to be or Amazon already are.
Yes, yeah.
So
Well, they're busy building the off ramp or the on ramp or whatever it is.
So there's going to be a road running from M5
Mm-hmm.
straight through to Liesbeek Parkway.
Is it the Yeah, it is. It's as the M5
The lower
becomes the N1, there by Berkeley.
Yes.
Yeah.
So very bullish. We've taken an entire building.
Oh, there we go. Like stories. Or is it
Well, 2 floors. Yeah.
2 floors.
But it's 2,000 square meters. It's big.
Yes.
And it's running the entire building. So, I mean, obviously, we are going in, and we start set up from September.
Okay.
Luckily, as I said, my one partner coming from the building background, he will run all of that. But yeah, setting it up from scratch, and that will really
that's cool.
Scratch my itches.
Yes, yeah. So when
it'll be total immersion.
When are you planning on launching that?
And then if we can have the doors open by 1 February, it'll be incredible. Yeah.
Jeez, that's cool.
Yeah.
2,000 squares.
2,000 squares.
That's
a lot.
impressive.
But I mean, I think it's going to be an incredible. I think the development itself is incredible. I think what they've done there, the job creation, and some people have some things to say about Amazon, but it's not just that. I think it's companies having faith in South Africa and coming here and investing the money and building and providing jobs. It's incredible. I mean, in Cape Town, I think in the next 10 years, it's going to change so much. It's just absolutely flourishing.
But competition, this is, I suckle with people that go, this is bad or whatever, because competition breeds innovation.
Totally.
Always.
Totally.
I mean, if
and it will make you question again, what service am I giving?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you must look at, since you've had your workspace going, there must have been other people who are coming into the industry, or there's other people that have been in the industry before you.
Yeah.
And surely that is iron sharpens iron. You look at them, they look at you, the service becomes better. They look at you look at them again, the service becomes better, and who benefits the clients?
Yep.
The industry,
Totally.
the South Africa, the Cape Town, whatever, I mean, why do you have to break down everybody else's building to make yours the biggest? No, build the biggest building. So,
and I think it's not to even have.
I do often.
I mean, obviously, you must be aware of what, for lack of a better word, the competition is doing.
Of course, yeah.
But I mean, I don't. And in the beginning, I had a bit of that, like the anxiety of, they're better, and people are going to go to them instead of me. But after 8 years, that I'm solid. I'm we as a company and my staff and my tenants and what we offer. Our service offering is
you're
solid.
Established. You have an offering. Your clients know what to expect.
Yeah. So it's as I think said earlier, it's a hotel for people, and people must be welcome and warm and looked after, and that remains my ethos through all of it. So it's going to be a big space to fill, but I think again it's situated above a shopping center as well, so you get those added benefits of going down to the shop or going to the gym and popping up to work, and I think that as well since COVID has, I think, been the change as well in the workplace. There's a lot more freedom in a way, start work at 10 and work till 7 or whatever, or you can go to the shops first. And as I said before, when the doors closed in February, and I was like, oh, what the hell is going to happen? And then the whole world was, kind of thrown upside down, and the workplace changed.
Yes.
And it was for the better for us in a way, because we had these spaces ready, and people don't sign these long-term leases anymore on a big building for 5 years, and it's just changed. So it's very nice to be part of that entrepreneurial spirit as well, because there's amazing companies and young people that I meet in the space that are starting out and doing things.
You're able to support and stand there and go, hey, I was part of that. So I've said to a lot of people with the podcast. So this particular episode is a big pivot episode.
Oh, okay.
Right. So in the lifespan of a podcast, right? So to
number
become
20.
Number 20, it's a big number. Number one, to get to 20 is hard. But so as a podcast, to become top 1% in the world, you have to put out 21 episodes.
I didn't know that.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So most people stop at 3. And I say like 90, I think it's like 95% of podcasts stop at episode 3. And then if you get past, so when you put episode 21 out, you're top 1%. And then,
well done. Perseverance.
Perseverance, yeah. But I was like, I'm busy drafting a bunch of sponsorship sort of like things. So I'm looking for, I want to put a fridge here and I want to put a coffee machine. And, I want to make it so that like now we're not just drinking a bottle of water.
Yeah.
But I could have said, hey, do you want a beer? Or do you want a cup of coffee or, something like that. So I'm busy drafting those. And like my whole pitch is like, get in early while it's cheap. It's like
I hear you.
And I've had a few of my friends come back to me, and now that
a bowl of M&Ms.
Yeah, and a bowl I'll double in size. I'll be growing a gut, not a pear. But like I've had friends of mine who were in the first 10 subscribers, and they're like, "Yo, dude, you had that." I was at 440 something earlier today.
When was the very, very first podcast?
September, October last year.
Really?
I did 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did 2, and then I stopped for like 4 months. So I had a studio in Cape Town that was gifted to me. There was and we lost the space, so it just wasn't viable anymore for us to use it. So I did 2 episodes, and then didn't have a space.
Okay.
And I was like, eh. And so then,
well, if you erase those 4 months, and you've basically done 20 in like 8 months.
Less. So it's effectively it's 1 a week. Since I restarted. So episode 3 I did here. It was just a day after I got this table, I think. Okay. And I like set up my camera here, and I did this very short what happened to the podcast. But don't worry, guys, I'm gonna do this every week. So since then, I've put out an episode every single week except for 1 week. And that's where I had a bit of a scheduling problem, and there was some stuff, like whatever. But like the next episode. So you've made it in the first, like before I became a top 1%.
Okay, well, I'm part of the brick. Let's get to you there. But I mean, I must say for me, it's myself, because I'm a little bit older than you, and I think I'm on that cusp where social media and podcasts and all that thing is. I don't say it's new to me, but I mean, I pay people to do it.
Sure.
That sounds terrible.
No, for sure. It's so much work.
It's a lot of work.
It's so much work. I've got
a
people,
science. It's totally a science.
I've got people 4 episodes ago that I've promised them clips out of their podcast.
Okay.
And I just keep on, like, I'm trying to find the time to do it. And I said to Lee the other night, I'm like, babe, I need to hire someone. She's like, you need to start making money on the podcast first. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
No, but I think sponsorship is fantastic.
Yes,
it's like, I mean, if you get those people in that sponsors an episode, for example, or So Disciples Inc. did exactly that, and it was funny because they decided after we did the podcast that so it wasn't mentioned.
No, it wasn't. So it's quite an interesting one, where they've been like. They put a post. They didn't even tell me. They put a post out. So Jono was there. His wife was sitting over there, and she took a photo while we were talking. And then they posted it saying, "Hey, podcast coming soon and a giveaway." And I saw it when they posted. I was like, I wonder if they linked, or is it just they're doing a giveaway?
Yeah.
And then I phoned him. I'm like, "Hey, tell me about the giveaway." He goes, "Oh, dude, I was supposed to message you. We're gonna do this.
That's quite cool.
We want to grow, and they've been so instrumental just in the last week or so of getting a lot more subscribers for me and people watching and like even new guests and whatever else. And it's been so great because he messaged me now every day. He's like, what's the count at? I want to see 1,000 followers. Des, I want to see 1,000 followers.
No, see, that's great support.
Yeah,
as well.
The support has been spectacular.
No, I mean, obviously, once I've listened to the edited version, I'll put it out there on my social network, and it's going to ride. And,
that's how we get
and I was just thinking just now as well, I've got so many potential people to talk to in my space.
Yeah.
I mean, there are amazing guys. There's Richard Harrington, who's like on the Forbes 400 list. He's this young guy.
Yes, please.
From Rich Flicks. So, and I mean, I've got 4 of these centers that are it's got these entrepreneurs. So
Yeah, that's great.
Point them to you.
I mean, yeah, I'm very stoked for
You're
that.
gonna have it like 2 a week.
Jeez, I've got like no hair already. I was watching another guy, big podcast. I think he's like number 3 or 4 in the world.
Okay.
And called Diary of a CEO. And he had a guy come on. He's a very, I think he was an Indian guy. I can't remember his name, but he's a very sort of holistic, do your thing, but don't overdo. So he's like, you can get to a point where you're fine. You don't have to keep on producing. And he was saying, like, how many episodes do you do? And he does 2 a week. And then he said in the podcast, he was like, but I'm thinking of doing a 3rd. And he was just, why? That was his question. He was like, number one, you're successful.
Yeah.
You're not going to ever catch Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's he's the GOAT and will be the GOAT. Like I could work for the next 20 years and not catch up kind of thing, But and he said, like, but you're successful. Leave some space for someone else. Enjoy it now. And then he said to him, like,
and produce quality content and not just drivel.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. And I've been like, I mean, when you start something like this, I've had to start with some of my friends, and I'm not trying to say that my friends aren't worth something. A lot of the guys I've had on, all of the guys I've had on have been great.
Yeah.
And they've got value and they've shared, and people on every episode have come back and said to me, yo, I learned something from that person. But for instance, like, it's not, you're at a level. And then, like you said, like that Richard guy that you spoke about, he's at a level. And the higher you get on those levels, the better it is for the viewer at the end of the day. Because the value has got to be there. And I love bringing entrepreneurial guys like you in to talk entrepreneur. I mean, it's buzzword-ish and whatever else. But I've got like 2 or 3 guys lined up that work normal jobs.
Okay.
That are hella successful. So I've got a mate of mine, my wife's best friend's husband. He's just moved. Well, they're busy moving to Cape Town. He's become national sales manager of a company, and I want to talk to him. And because it's like, you've worked a job for 80% of the population. That's reality.
Yep.
You've worked a real job for somebody else for a long time, and you've been successful. You're earning good money. You're able to look after your family, all that kind of jazz. I want to know his story, and it's sales, and it's in the muck, and really grinding and cold calling and all of that,
and dealing with corporate structures and all of that,
potentially bad bosses and good bosses, and how do you do that, and
navigating your way through
exactly.
And it's amazing, Des, because obviously, I mean, you will never know who listens to these podcasts, and you'll never know how it kind of touches somebody or somebody gets inspired or learns something or takes something further, or networking happens with another person that you have interviewed. It's awesome.
I make every single episode for a young guy called Fourie, who doesn't exist.
Okay.
So he's my fictitious biggest fan, right?
That's not your alter ego.
No, definitely not. But the way I view Fourie is like, and it's terrible. But I see Fourie as this, like, say 21-year-old guy in a white wife beater and a mullet, like haircuts, and he's sitting there going, yo, it's time I grow up and actually do something with my life, but how do I do it?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and that person could be 21, that person could be 41, that person.
Totally.
I reinvented my life 2 years ago. I was homeless. Literally had nowhere to go. I just lost a job, which was supposed to be the rest, or at least the next 10 to 15 years of my life, was supposed to be a high-flying thing, changing the world. Lost the job, moved in with my parents at 39 years old. No money in the bank, no squat, no anything. Spent everything I had. Lost everything. And it's like, and I've rebuilt into now. And I'm meeting people, and I mean the names of the people that are coming, and I'm not.
So what do you think is that quality, that stubborn kind of just perseverance,
dogged determination?
Exactly,
it's dogged. That's how I got my wife. It took me 3 years. The amount of times she said to me, "Des, you're my friend."
Really?
Like, no, I don't want to be your friend. I'm going to marry you.
Well done.
But it is that dogged determination. That bashing your head against the wall or throwing mud against the wall until something sticks.
Yeah.
And I never expected, I mean, when you and me were working together, 14 years ago, I never expected that I'd be running a podcast. They didn't exist.
I never thought I'd be sitting here with you having this
Exactly,
conversation.
yeah,
I mean,
I look at it now and I go, you know what? Maybe it's just the willingness to pivot, the willingness to change, and not necessarily be, married to an idea. Because I've seen so many people. There's value to sticking to something 100%. Like you've done now with venture, and you've stuck to it through the hard times. You could have gone into COVID and gone, oh, this is a disaster.
Let's keep the doors permanently closed.
I should be selling toilet paper. That didn't stop. That's earning money still. But now I've got the space and no one can come to it. But you didn't. You pushed through. So there's value in that. But I think there's the value in being able to pivot until you find that.
Exactly, and be willing to bump your head and explore. And if it doesn't work, then then go the other way. I mean, as when I made a massive career change at 41. I could not run after a bride anymore on a Saturday afternoon. I was done. And I entered a world that I did not know a bar or soap of.
Yeah.
But obviously the elements of hospitality and all that was there, and I could just took the value
carry that, and then you just re-engineered it into the next.
Totally.
Yeah. All right, I'll ask a question from everybody. It's a subjective question, so this is uniquely you. What does growing a pair mean to you? What does it look like?
Showing up. If you say you're going to do it, you do it. It says if that alarm clock goes off at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, you get up. If it's pouring rain. So I think that's that dogged determination.
Yes.
And sometimes it does border on stubbornness maybe, and I think that's the hardcore part of being an entrepreneur. But you just have to get up and do it.
Fantastic. I love it.
The only way.
Cool. Well, we've managed to hit an hour, which is good. It flies, huh?
Yeah.
It really goes. Thank you so much for coming through.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for talking about your businesses. We'll put all the links and stuff into the description and whatnot.
And vice versa.
Fantastic. Thank you. And man, that's
lekker.
That's a podcast.
Great. I'm number 20.
Number 20, yeah. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys.